Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. When it comes to people playing stupid, they know that playing stupid causes me to think about why they would play stupid and about how to respond to them playing stupid. So they resorted to just avoiding. And they've basically conceded that they've lost the discussion. I've had people come up to me and say, your argument is the only one that makes sense. Their arguments don't even make sense. You know, you see the churches, you see the spirit that they're in, you see the other movements just completely obvious that they're wrong, they're false, political shell movements. Their churches may as well be led by Greta Thunberg, no offense to her. They may as well be led by Bart Simpson. They're just obviously the types of people who in college were like in fraternities hazing people, okay? The military hazing people, running SOPs on people, everyone knows it. They use technologies to harass people. They do immature things and they do disgusting things, and everyone knows it. You don't have to have seen American Pie or Scary Movie or The Simpsons or Rick and Morty to know that in American culture and Western culture in general, people like to be very, very immature. Very immature. So one female once said that in Western culture, guys are dogs, right? It's implied that it's in Western culture she's talking about because she didn't really know anything about other cultures. Guys are dogs, you know, according to her, and that females are bitches. That's what she said, a female. She said, that's just how it is. Okay, so you have these people who in their own culture, right, they admit it's a dog-eat-dog culture, crony capitalist culture. They admit that it's a propaganda culture, psyop culture. There's gaslighting, narcissism, rampant. That people are sheeple and they love to fall in line with certain groups. So if your country is called a country full of sheeple, that's every country in the world, but specifically America here, and you're part of a common group as a typical person, doesn't that make you a sheep? Well, there you go, right? But they still don't get it. They still persist. And so when you look at this thing, they may as well be saying that I'm magically not mulatto. That's stupid. I'm magically not 6'4". Well, why would you even say that, right? I'm obviously a light-skinned black person. Why would I lie about that? I'm obviously tall. Why would I lie about being 6'4"? I have videos of me in my house, my parents' house rather. Obviously live somewhere. I've shown my dad's humanitarian award on camera. You think I bought it on eBay or something? I mean, think. That particular award would cost a pretty penny. I don't even know where you would buy something like that. It's custom made in some place, you know, what have you. I have pictures from my father's office. So I've proven definitively that I'm a brain surgeon's son of 2 doctors. Okay, so immediately, for those of you who are new, I'm something that's impressive and that's rare, immediately. My social status is greater than the president's immediately when we look at it in terms of who is respected in reality. No offense to the president, but politicians in America are seen as corrupt. They're seen as just politicians. It's a game where doctors save your life. And someone who's the son of 2 doctors must have been raised right. That's respectable. Someone who's made thousands of videos telling the truth and has 23 witnesses to being persecuted for righteousness' sake, that's respectable. So now let's look at it a different way, because I think that people are trained to be racist in America. Even if they're black, they're trained to be self-hating blacks. You know, it's like Mia X said, the rapper. She said, black boys and girls are taught to feel like our race is no good. I never heard in my life anyone disagree with her about that in my life. In my life. Of different races that have listened to these songs. You go to the comments on the video, no one disagrees with that. So yeah, that's what they're taught in America. They're taught to feel like their race is no good. So let's look at it in terms of a female. If you saw a very healthy looking female, very attractive, very nice, and you knew that she's the son of 2 doctors, one a brain surgeon, and she's gorgeous, she's in good shape, and she's healthy, and she starts making videos. And over time, she collects 23 witnesses to them sabotaging her And she says they're poisoning her and they're fuming her, and the way she looks changes. And she says controversial things that no one else is saying. They're afraid to say it. What would you assume is going on? She said, hey, they're covertly editing my videos. And you know that the NSA and Google have a strong connection. Some people say the NSA runs Google. I don't know. And you know that, there's Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And there's all these times of people talking about, a Zionist conspiracy, whether you believe they're right or wrong. And you see all this pro-Israeli stuff and Palestinian stuff. And before it really gets heated, this person was saying things like, yes, there's a white, Jewish, and LGBT conspiracy. And they say they're covertly editing my videos and the sound of my voice to play me out. Would you believe her? Yes. She said guys were shunning her. You'd find it hard to believe, right? You'd be like, that's crazy. Because guys like rob banks and they kill people. I mean, females do too, but guys do it at a much higher rate. Why on earth would they shun a female who's attractive because they're afraid of trouble? There's guys who kidnap attractive females and rape and kill them and try to get away with it. There's guys who do that knowing that they're probably not going to get away with it. So why would that? They wouldn't, right? I mean, somewhere, somehow, they would stop shunning her. They would stand with her. So when you look at this case and you look at what's being said, only a complete idiot would not hear me out. And when they hear me out, they would think about the 40,000 or so denominations in the world. 20,000 of them or so are right here in America. Christian denominations, mind you. And they'll think about their explanation of the Bible. And again, Muslims have their own factions and explanations of the Bible as well. I wonder if they count them among the denominations. Either way, you see what I'm saying. And they would think about the fact that I have the most logical explanation for what the Bible is saying. Now, who's saying this, right? Someone with the top martial arts challenge who has proven that he's logically the top martial artist ever. My world record speed strikes, my challenge. The strikes by themselves arguably could be faked or something. But when you couple it with a top martial arts challenge where you offer people tons of money if they could win, money just to show up and pay nothing if they lose, then it becomes very real very fast. And as 12 years go by, it's crystal clear that only one person's claim to being the top martial artist ever possible is to be taken seriously, and that's mine. Universally fair, straightforward, and on top of that, you see my Kuro Obi black belt argument that traces the very essence of being a black belt, or being the master sash in Kung Fu, if you will, to me. Pretty straightforward. So, as these things come together, and you see that I have the most logical argument. My argument is that the miracles are figurative, and I've proven that. Revelation 17, I've connected it. Jeremiah, with the clouds and the chariots. Lamentations, I've connected it definitively, showing you that the miracles must be figurative, the most logical interpretation. For example, Bart Simpson, if he was a real person, right, could say that the Bible is really about the Simpsons. And he could twist, he could stretch the arguments being made. And that the Simpsons are chosen. But it's not logical to interpret it that way. Because we first have to prioritize righteousness and justice, because that's the point of the story. It's a religious book, and stories have morals. And religious books are supposed to have morals more than most stories, if you get my drift, because they're religious books about right and wrong, justice and righteousness and morality and wisdom and moral wisdom. So as you look at this thing, you say, okay, this guy says that the miracles are figurative. Immediately, everyone who says that they're not, okay, especially when they don't address why the chariots are compared to clouds, why martial arts strikes in Isaiah 30 are compared to clouds, right? Warrior strikes, more accurately seen as martial arts strikes, because God goes beyond Conan the Barbarian and Genghis Khan and pirates and so on and so forth, into the realm of something that is higher, mind, body, soul, and spirit. The essence of that, not the essence of some brute force person with a big shield and a big sword or something. So as we look at this thing, we see that everyone who argues that the miracles are magically literal have a less logical argument. And if they all got together and made a mean face and said, he's wrong, he's wrong, he's wrong, That doesn't change the fact that their argument is less logical. They're arguing that somebody a long time ago literally walked on water, literally brought someone back to the dead, all that stuff, but didn't have his disciples and followers do it as the population of the world grows. As he has more reason to prove things as the population of the world increases, as we're in an information age, he didn't do it. And on top of that, he said that those who believe in him will do things that are greater than the miracles he did. So their argument doesn't make sense. And they're not even addressing my argument that, hey, look at Revelation, where the water stands for the peoples, the nations, the multitudes of languages. Look at Jeremiah 4 or something, where it says that God's cloud, he compares chariots to the clouds of the Lord. He advances like the clouds. His chariots are a whirlwind. He compares it to a storm, a whirlwind, clouds. In John, where Christ says flat out that he's been speaking figuratively. And that includes when he says, I am, and you will see me at the right hand of the mighty one coming on the clouds of heaven. So he says in the New Testament, I've been speaking figuratively, and eventually I'll come back and I'll speak plainly. And there you have that famous part where he says that he is the Son of God, and you'll see him at the right hand of the power, right hand of the mighty one, the right hand of God, coming on the clouds of heaven. Pretty straightforward. When you look at that, it's clear. How would a moral person interpret it? And then you look at the churches and with all their lies and all their false miracles and their shroud of Turin, which is BS. In the midst of all these gang stalking technologies, where they can literally carve images into material. I've shown it with my floor. I've shown it with the backboard of my house. I've shown it with the bathroom, and so on and so forth. And keep in mind that I edit my videos, but some of these videos are still there and the proof is still there right now. And some of them they've edited. I've proven it. And I've gone on and on about having proven it. With nobody saying, hey, I don't see it. So my arguments are more logical. Then they want you to follow them. With all their neocolonialism, with all the church corruption, what have you. They say things in a way that makes it so they want you to follow them. Be it the Protestants complaining about the Catholics or the Catholics swearing up and down with no valid evidence, mind you, no logically valid evidence. They swear that there's a certain line that they argue magically comes through Peter and that magically it continues through their church. The Orthodox disagrees, all the Protestants disagree. Their evidence is not just not open and shut, it's not valid evidence. Historians disagree at the time, and someone a long time ago could have wrote something and said, hey, I was there and Peter said this, this, and this, and the succession went here. It's not valid evidence. And the people who have spread the propaganda the most are Westerners. So here we come with the most corrupt nation in history, the Romans. The Roman Catholic Church continues, as does their corruption. And from that same bad tree, all these Protestants emerged, the Eastern Empire, the Orthodox emerged from that same evil Roman tree. And they want you to believe something that a historian or something wrote years ago, even a bunch of them, when they did not agree with each other. There's people who disagree with Tacitus and Herodotus and all the Greeks and Romans and all kinds of historians from all over the world. There's people who disagree with them. There's evidence that's fabricated. People have been caught time and time again fabricating evidence. And even if it was actually written there and the person actually believed it was true, it doesn't mean that it was true. So as we look at the actual evidence and we ask ourselves, what would God expect us to believe? The people from the tree that killed Christ in their own story? Who are laughing at you, as some of these popes had brothels in the Vatican, all these priests who are raping children, 20% of them homosexuals, when all throughout Catholic history they said that homosexuality was forbidden. I mean, no reason to believe them, no reason to believe Protestants. The Klan was a Protestant organization. Members from all kinds of different Protestant churches. Most of you, even if you're a Protestant, you can't tell the difference to any significant degree between an Adventist and a Methodist and a Baptist and a Lutheran. You can't tell the difference. Their spirit is nearly identical. The way they play the game is nearly identical. And they play the game instead of telling the truth. So when we look at the actual evidence, like in Luke 12, where Christ says, why don't you judge for yourselves what is right? And stop judging by mere appearances, instead judge correctly. It's also said in the Bible by Christ. I think it's in John 7 or something. And so when you look at the appearances, is everyone's in some crowd, they're going a certain way, and they're like, hey guys, I'm going here, and I seem to be a nice guy, and maybe you should go here too, and you shouldn't do that, da-da-da-da-da. That's mere appearances. Got to really sink your teeth into the evidence. And we see all these people who are Christians, right? All these churches everywhere. Have they ever once rallied as a masses of churches for romantic justice? No, just for propaganda, fake romance, fake marriages. Have they ever once rallied effectively for a sound plan that involves wealth taxes and cost-effective spending to end homelessness? No, they never have. So that which you did not do for the least of my brethren, you did not do for me. Whoever doesn't gather with me scatters. They simply don't do these things. And if some of them do these things more than others or try more than others, they're too like the ones who don't try hard enough or to any significant degree. So if you are like the liars, if you are like the devil, why is that? Why haven't you gone the distance to separate yourselves from them? Unless you're following some kind of secret society, and deep state Babylonian mystery formula with your Babylonian motives, your Babylonian model and your Babylonian output. And as they try to change my voice, say, let's change his voice. Let's fume him. Let's try to make it so he sounds propaganda-like. Ask yourselves, do you believe the person who's talking sense, who's in the Silicon Valley where right now there's robots serving people burgers, not far from where I'm right now, like 30 minutes away in Los Gatos, wherever far away it is. That's in the Silicon Valley as well. Do you believe the person who's being persecuted for making videos for 16 years while everyone else is controlled opposition? Do you believe the person who's the son of 2 doctors, one a brain surgeon? Do you believe the person who's proven that he's the top martial artist ever? A very controversial argument that I've made for many years now. I started making it in 2012. I definitively made it in a way no one can deny in 2013 with my top martial arts challenge then, and now it's 2025. I've been talking about preventable deaths and homelessness and stuff like that for many years. One can argue that it culminated in 2021, where I insisted on a more specific plan to end homelessness. Where before I was trying to get people to rally to help me come up with that plan and to help me organize and get the message out there. People didn't do that. They followed the people who they're more comfortable with following, who had no plan to end homelessness, who had no plan for romantic justice, who had no plan to effectively explore Scripture to get to the bottom of what God desires. Like the conservatives they are, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, those who want to conserve white supremacy in the game and the governing class's power, they just kept playing the game while thousands of people died, while 50,000 people commit suicide every year. They just kept playing the game. That's around 1,000 a week. They didn't care enough. They didn't care enough about the romantic injustice, the homelessness, the suicides, the drugs, the 9 million people starving to death every year in the world. They didn't care. They just kept upholding the same social norms, the same motives, formula, model, and output that worsened the crisis until we got into the situation we're in now, where technology is through the roof and people are under extreme mind control. While every step of the way I was insisting on logic and righteousness. I have a song back when I was 16 years old or so, 1997, where I have it recorded and released, where I said they want to ball and ignore the deeper call. And their mind frame is creating misplaced game. Now, when I say game in that context, I don't mean that people should play the game. It's like semantics. What I was arguing is that people aren't moving through life masterfully. And instead, they're playing the game. They're ignoring the deeper call. They want a ball and ignore the deeper call. And I said, y'all through stressing me. I said, you're through stressing me. I was 16 years old. And in the song, I said, I've been putting up with this nonsense for a long time. And that's it. At 16 years old. These other people from these churches, these other groups, they were not doing that. They were conforming while kids were being raped in their communities, in their churches, by Boy Scouts and more. You know, Boy Scout leaders, what have you, and more. While people's family members were molesting them. While their communities were practicing debauchery through the roof. Where they were clinging on to pagan customs and calling it Christianity. They kept trying to maintain the existence of the church and kept trying to survive instead of doing God's commands. You know why in reality there is no church organization or anything like that left from the people who actually deserve to go down in history as saints, as disciples of the ancient martial artists of old? Because the people who have the churches now, their ancestors screened them out shamelessly, while they sought to take credit for the righteous acts of the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order. They are the anti-worthy. They're not trustworthy, therefore they're not worthy. And why can't you judge for yourselves that that's the case? Because you've been led astray by their psychology, which in the Bible has been compared to a magic spell. Just like in a magic spell, there's different components. There's coercion. There's temptation. There's other psychological components. There's substances and materials and drugs. There's chemistry and pharmacology and various forms of technologies that they use, technology that they use to try to get you to go down an evil path and to accept a life of moral decadence and debauchery. To this day, no church has even attempted to address my argument to any significant and logical degree. I've been making it for years. My argument of universal, pinpointed moral precision. In fact, the Catholic Church is even called the Universal Church because the biggest faction of Christianity, or whatever you want to call it, they believe that there should be a universal rule, to the point where Catholic, I'm told, means universal. Yet they refuse, like every other church, to even attempt to address my argument that universal, pinpointed moral precision is the true religion of God and not churchianity, not mere human rules, customs, and traditions. All the churches are just paying God lip service, but their hearts are far from Him. Because if they actually love God, then they would have great love. They would have great love to the point where they would be willing to lay down their lives on the drop of a hat, rather than let the Son of God call out to them while they do not answer, coming up with all kinds of excuses that cowards make. And thus in Revelation, they got that part right where it said, outside the gates are the cowardly. And the word coward is even a play on words for a crowd. So you see that my argument is the most logical. And all other people have failed to rise to the occasion and to accept that truth. And the way is the truth and the life. The way is a life of accepting that truth by your actions. Because as water reflects the face, so one's life reflects the heart. And the Lord weighs the heart. The Lord weighs the motives. And you can kind of test your motives by looking at how your motives relate to your formula. So looking at what your motives are and actually being honest and seeing how it relates to your formula, your model, and your output. Thank you.